Hello and welcome to the Embracing the Mystery podcast, hosted by yours truly, Dani Rhem. This is a podcast where we have expansive conversations around living an empowered and embodied soul-led life, expanding your consciousness and belief systems, what it means to fully embrace the mystery of life that we are all living, and so much more. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave a rating or review wherever you listen. Share it on your social media platforms, like and subscribe. Thank you for being here and enjoy. Hello, Keena, and welcome to the Embracing the Mystery podcast.
Hi, Danny. I'm so happy to be here. I can't wait to see where the mystery takes us.
Aw, such an honor to have you on here, love. And yeah, so excited to have a conversation with you. I so resonate with your path and just everything that you're doing in the world. So it's really special to have you here today and have a conversation.
Likewise.
So I'd love to get us started. Just maybe you can tell us a little bit about the path that you're walking currently, and also how you kind of came to that, like, or how it came to you.
That's a really great question. The path definitely came to me, but I was curious for it. Uh, and it really asked of me to really discover myself. Um, and in searching for the truth, I had to really navigate through the societal boxes, and I started to see through those. And that really led me to the path of deeper devotion to myself and the plants, and just releasing some of those boxes that didn't really seem to be serving me anymore.
Yeah, I feel like that's such a journey that so many of us are on right now, like kind of seeing through things and clearing what doesn't resonate anymore and really dropping into that deeper place of truth within ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not for the faint-hearted, but one of the most rewarding paths.
Absolutely, yeah. That's something I say a lot too. Like this path is not for the faint of heart, to live and walk and seek absolute truth requires you to really shed so many layers and really so many comforts as well in life.
Definitely. Yeah, because those comforts are there and it's almost like they're keeping us lazy.
Hmm.
It's stopping us from actually feeling what it is to be with life and to be alive.
Mm,
So the path will often strip away the comforts.
absolutely. And I know you as the Bobinsana Rose Queen. So I wonder if you want to talk a little bit about that, about the work that you're offering in the world, also your connection with the Bobinsana and the Rose and how that supported you in your journey.
Yes, Bobinsana has been probably one of the biggest blessings in my life. And I discovered her after journeying to the Sacred Valley of Peru for the first time. I know that's where you are now. And I was in search to do some deep healing. Um, I already was working with grandmother medicine from a very young age. And I had good mentors and a good support system, very Buddhist, very practical. And I actually really resonated with the Maha temple in Peru. And so I was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to go and see what it's all about. And I show up, and it was just after the creator of the temple actually passed on. Um, so I was able to really connect with his energy on a whole nother level. And that gave me actually some deep guidance that I wasn't expecting. Um, at first, I went to the facilitators there and I told them about some of the symptoms I was experiencing. And the symptoms were in the center of my heart. And it was causing me to have pain in my arms and in my bones. So I carried just a lot of trauma and a lot of grief, a lot of disappointment that I was running away from, like very fastly in my adolescence years. Everything I could do, I did it. So, like, nope, not going there. Heartbreak, what's that?
Oh,
Anyways, but discovering grandmother medicine quite young, it really opens me up very quick. Um, so when I was there, they told me some of the symptoms in my body that I just needed more magnesium. And at that point, I already studied holistic nutrition. I had a very good diet. I was taking supplements. I was already taking magnesium. And I looked at them. I'm like, are you serious? I came all the way here for you to tell me that all I need is more magnesium. And I'm like, no. So I'm gallivanting around the Sacred Valley. At this time, I think I was only 19 years old.
hmm.
And I found Bobinsana tea. I was like, what's this? um, so I started drinking liters of it. Um, then I go back to the Mama Temple. And I actually ran into a friend from Canada who was a facilitator and a practitioner with the medicine, and started a conversation with him that began into a few years of deeper learning and dieting with plants. He mentioned to me that the importance of dieting when you're doing this healing work, for proper cleansing and proper cleaning.
Hmm.
And it really landed deep coming from the Sacred Valley tradition, who originally didn't really diet plants. So they were holding a lot energetically without cleansing it and using guidance and support from other plant allies. So going really deep with grandmother medicine, opening up that portal. And each journey is person of their own, but when the illness starts to come in the body, when you're holding spiritual realms, to be able to have the ability to cleanse it through doctoring spirit plants, master plant allies, um, becomes really good information to come across. So I came across it. I started dieting and I spent 4 years kind of really going deep into the realms of plant dietas. My first one was with Bobinsana, and I'd say it was the most impactful because it connected me with my primordial longing, and knowing myself and knowing my heart and knowing that it's okay to long for the natural things that my soul and as a woman was longing for. Um,
Mm.
I think as women, there's been a huge suppression of that. Well, just humanity in general, because we've been in fear and we've been in flight and war. So have our souls actually had the time to fully feel what it is to really long in being human and our
Mm.
desires that we desire.
Mm. Wow, so beautiful. It's so true. It's like, our society is built on a patriarchal structure. And so the ways in which we are naturally designed to function as women, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, also with our hormones. Like it's not supported, and we can get so disconnected from that. Can you
Mhm.
explain a little bit about what Bobinsana actually is for people who don't know who are listening?
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Bobinsana is a shrub. She's a tree, and her branches grow in every which direction and has these green leaves on it with these really bright, sparkly flowers. It's a mimosa, so there are sisterine plants. It's actually in the back. There's kind of a good
Coming
well.
out of her crown, of course.
Um, yeah, and the plant helps to ground the spiritual journey, and also unravel the subconscious, connect you to your heart, and also it's a profound teacher to release grief and access joy.
And I'm curious too, because you were speaking about the pain in your bones. Did Bobinsana help you with
Mhm.
this as well? Because I've heard also that she's good for arthritis.
Yes, yes. So my mother has suffered from arthritis and fibromyalgia, and um, basically, once I did the cleansing in the heart, like I truly believe our heart is a magnetic field. And once I did the cleansing in the heart, it was like that dense, blackened energy that existed there just didn't exist anymore. So the
Mm.
pain in my body went away.
Hmm.
It was like
Hmm.
this spiritual um, body connection that was really strong.
Mm. I love that you're
Mm.
speaking to that. I was actually having a conversation with my father last night because he's actually a cardiac surgeon. And
Oh.
I was trying to explain to him how the diets work and how they don't just treat like, you know, in the medical field, they're usually prescribing like pills or something to treat the symptom, but the diets and the plants really work at like the spiritual root of whatever the physical or emotional or mental issue is. And yeah, I
Mhm.
was trying to explain that to him, and he was like, have you ever had surgery on your heart in these ceremonies? And I said, yes. And also with the Bobinsana. So yeah, I love that you're speaking to that. It's so important. But I want to redirect us also back to how Bobinsana helped you connect with your femininity because I really feel that she is like, wow, really brings this like beautiful like goddess energy into our fields when we work with her.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, the energy of Bobinsana is very soft. Um, and we're often faced with a faster paced energy, or we have armor. Um, so meeting that softness that Bobinsana can present um, is a really fun experience. Because it allows us to connect to these new parts of ourselves, um, that for me feel more natural. And having the energetical support that is subtle and gently guiding you into that just becomes such a gift. So the femininity with her started really embracing um, my emotions, my tears, that polarity of grief and joy, um, and really being able to dance with that and also connect to the spirits of our earth and of our water and see like the glimmer and become receptive to the beauty that's on the outside, but also that softening that can happen on the inside. So you can really receive that feminine support to go deep and to feel safe and to guide your spiritual practice.
And
Mhm.
I also find Bobinsana very empowering and also very strong and very protective. And I wonder if you can speak to that and also how women, maybe women listening to this, can feel more empowered in their feminine energy because you speak of this softness. And I think a lot of times in today's world, the softness is maybe perceived as weak or a lack of empowerment. But really, as women, it is our power.
Totally. Yeah. The softness isn't a passive state. And I really like that Bobinsana can bring forth that tension. And maybe that's where you're feeling like she is active and she is protective because she will put you on razor edge to test you and strengthen your energy, basically. Um, so there's that softness and there's that full force strength that she also brings. And in being a tree spirit, um, with having those roots in the bark, which are blood building, strength building, Bobinsana can be a tonic for women who have just given birth, and it can help to strengthen them back because that's a very soft process, really letting go, um, things like that. So there is that like tension between soft and strong. And that is really the magic because she's teaching us not to just be soft and passive, but she's teaching us to be strong, soft and bright.
And can you speak a little bit about because I know you work with Bobinsana and Rose together. And what is that combination like, and how do those two plants work well together?
Oh, yeah. So these plants harmonize super well together. So, speaking to the softness that Bobinsana opens. So, typically, you just diet one plant at a time. Um, Yet, these two plants are really working together. And that softening that happens in the heart with the rose and the softening that happens in the heart with the Bobinsana, they harmonize. Um, so why I've been guided to work with them together is I've always felt like rose adds that extra layer of protection and allows you to soften like just a little bit deeper and to not only feel the spirit of Bobinsana, but to really call forth the spirit of the Magdalenas and the codes of the rose and that Christ consciousness. Um, and the learning through the plants, when you start to go into the Shipibo um, plant technology, you learn how different plants connect to each other. For example, Bobinsana has a direct connection to Noirayel, which is Christ consciousness. Um, and that is a very beautiful connection. And then you learn that Rose can't directly connect to the master plant, Noirayel. So, in bringing in other tree spirits, you can start to connect all the plants together. But Bobinsana and Rose also have that direct connection. So they connect directly. They connect directly in the heart. And the rose developing a relationship with the rose really also helped me to connect more into my femininity, um, and also make sense of some of the spiritual processing that happens. Um, so the teachings of the rose for me just become just as important as Bobinsana.
I'm curious because I've heard that people die at different parts of the rose and they have different experiences. Because
Mhm.
obviously, if you look at the rose, like the petals are very beautiful and they blossom open, but then she also has her stem.
Or
Yeah, she has her thorns. So also like to me that symbolizes like boundaries, like you said, protection. I'm wondering if you've had this experience with connecting or dieting different parts of the rose and how that was for you.
yeah, so I've dyed different colors of the rose.
Oh yes, tell us about that too, please. Because I know that they hold different frequencies and teachings.
Yeah, um, it really it came upon me as such a beautiful framework, um, for myself, working with four different colors of the rose. So the pink rose holds a deepening of your sensuality and your pleasure and your ability to love yourself. Whereas the red rose, in contrast, it holds this element a little bit deeper, like your deep passion. So that also links into why you're here and that really deep, passionate love, like something that you couldn't imagine not doing, or a lover that you could not imagine not being with. So the red rose is really deep love. And then working with the yellow rose, this becomes more about your prosperity in this life and your purpose. But this also includes your friendships, your relationships, things like that. So you get to kind of receive what those also mean to you. But one of my favorite roses is actually the white rose. And this feels like a queen, queen rose, holding this level of purity around the consciousness of the rose herself. So, but the thorns, speaking to the thorns and the boundaries, and the teachings of how important that is within opening into these feminine states, these feminine realms, um, that are new. And how do we begin to protect that energy and develop boundaries so that the love can really, um, keep expanding, and boundaries becomes an art, it becomes a craft, in a dance, and they become some of your biggest teachers, and such an important theme in life. The rose, the first time I started to connect to the thorns while on a rose diet, it showed me, it was like, you're literally pointing your thorns at yourself, Keena.
Hmm.
was like, I was like so sad. I was like, really? Yeah, you're protecting yourself so much, you're hurting yourself. It's like,
Hmm.
really? Like, oh, so I had to look at that. I had to look at my relationship with where I developed thorns,
Mhm.
but they were pointed inwards instead of outwards.
Mhm.
So that I had to really undo that.
Thank you for sharing that. That's really powerful. Yeah, and it's so true what you're saying too. It's like the more we open our hearts, I also feel the more that we have discernment and proper boundaries, right? Because like, yeah, like the love can be so big and it can be flowing, but we also have to be like really mindful about that and about, what we're allowing in because I don't know, I think of also the concept of like in masculine and feminine relationships, like how they say, the man serves as the protector to the feminine heart and her oracle because she's opening her heart to him. And like that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So we have to kind of like develop that aspect within ourselves as well in a healthy way. Also, so it can show up externally in a healthy way.
Mm. Yeah, that's a really beautiful metaphor and example, um, where we can start to learn about the femininity, and but also to be that for ourselves, where we are protecting that energy and making good choices of who we will let in as the masculine.
Hmm. You're saying like when I was dyeing the rose, she said to me and she showed me I was pointing my thorns inwards. And maybe you could explain a little bit more just for people who aren't familiar with this kind of work. How does it work in a diet? Because the plants are healing us physically, but their spirits are communicating with us. Can you elaborate on that for people who maybe this is like a foreign concept to them?
Yes.
Maybe also including like the structure of a diet or what kind of is happening.
Sure. Sure. Okay. So when we go into a plant dieta, we're going into a container, um, designed for guidance. That's what's so great about the master plants is they truly are designed to give guidance. And we, as the dieter, go into a container of sacrifice, um, where we're not having salt, sugar, oils, and also sacrificing the internet, or putting ourselves in a situation that just sometimes is a little bit different than the normal, especially with the food. And this really is so that the energy of the plant, it can penetrate and start to grow inside you so that you can have that relationship. And I know this seems a little bit out there, but that's one of the reasons why we retain from salt so that the energy of the plant, isn't diluted by the salt and has room to grow in an environment that's more neutral. So we're really creating this neutral environment, getting quiet, and coming to that space to really work on ourselves and to really learn from the plant kingdom. And yeah, so when you go into the diet, often a traditional diet these days is done with the master plant, grandmother ayahuasca, where you can receive visions or states of being where you're just thinking in a different way entirely, able to track and trace everything's happening in your body, in your mind, in your spirit. Um, yeah, and that can be a really deep space to go into. Um, and while you're doing your ceremonial work with grandmother ayahuasca and you're on dieta with a master plant, um, that master plant is becoming a lot of the light. So they're used for specific reasons. Um, Sometimes you can choose, sometimes it'll be prescribed um, which plant it is. And the frequency of the plant is there for your next um, step in your evolution.
Yes,
Does that explain?
absolutely. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, because
Mhm.
I like that you said that plant is there for your next step in evolution because obviously, like, so much, oh my gosh, like the deepest transformation is happening in the diets. But like you said, the plant also roots into you. So after the diet as well, I mean, you have the plant with you for the rest of your life, and they're guiding you and they're teaching you and they're testing you and tricking you and really supporting the journey. Um, but yeah, it's so beautiful the diets with ayahuasca nowadays. I've actually heard that that wasn't actually traditional. And I've had diets because I work within the lineage of tobacco. I've had diets with just like tobacco and the tree that I was dieting, no ayahuasca. And then I've had diets with just like the master plan and ayahuasca. So it's really interesting to feel the difference between the two. I think that they're both really beneficial, but I love the ones with ayahuasca because I feel that in these ceremonies within the diet, so much happens, and you can go so much deeper with your plant and have like such a deeper understanding of the plant. And also, yeah, you just like you understand so much more, I feel like. Like in ceremonies, I always get to see like the plant like really like growing through like my veins, my arms, like my whole being out my crown, which is really, really special.
Mm. Yeah, and it's also special to work just alongside just with the master plants. Uh,
Yes. Please tell us about that because I know that's kind of some of the work that you offer.
yeah, so traditionally, when somebody was desiring healing, they wouldn't give them ayahuasca, they would give them the plant that was there to support what kind of healing um, would they were needing. Um, so this is where I've been guided to kind of have a play with Shipibo plant technology and modern day herbalism. Well, not modern day, ancient herbalism.
Ancient herbalism in the modern day.
Yeah. Um,
Maybe that's the name for this podcast.
there we go. That's great. I love it. Yeah. So, and that's where Bobinsana really started to sing through and whisper and start to whisper at a greater collective level, um, where women could kind of catch her whispering, like, oh, there's a plant called like summoning me, and I can hear her siren, I can hear her high frequency. What is it? And then all of a sudden they hear Bobinsana and they're like, oh, that's it. And they just know. Um, as part of my path, the past few years, I've been carrying that vibration of the Shipibo plant technology, but working with it in the modern setting. Not really modern setting, but using technology um, and still allowing women who might not be able to make it to the jungle or are scared or don't have the right connection. Um, there's actually not that many equipped um, Shipibo healers.
Mhm.
Like there's some, but it's a very small majority of our population.
Mhm.
But yet, what they've offered my heart is so rich that it's almost like Bobinsana is like, no, there's a part of you that gets to be a honeybee and kind of share this nectar with others who can't quite make that deep of a journey into the jungle.
Mm.
And that's been a really beautiful offering to be able to introduce people into this way, into this practice, into these concepts um, from a lens where I get to guide them, um, but they also get to have their own expansion and experience.
Mm-hmm. Oh, little
Mhm.
Bobinsana honeybee. I love that. Going and pollinating all the other flowers in the world with the Bobinsana magic. So I'm going to shift the topic a little bit. And I mean, it's all interconnected, I'm sure. Actually, I know. So I wanted to have a conversation with you also about the place of Christ and his teachings on this path, because I know that this is something that you and I have personally navigated. And I feel like yeah, it's a really important conversation to have. So I'm curious if you want to share, yeah, just how that's been for you personally, working with the plants, also having this connection to Christ where the two intertwine, where maybe they don't, what you think about all of that.
Yeah, that has been a really touching topic, and has taught me so much, in all honesty. Before I came to the plants, I was really walking a path with Jesus as my savior. And that was really beneficial for me, um, in seeing how much I've overcame and where I was at. And it definitely had its place. Yet I could still feel that ache that, I ventured into plant medicine. Um, the ache was really physical, um, mental, emotional, spiritual, like there was something missing. And I did lose my connection with Jesus Christ as my savior, for a while because I had so many questions. Um, I felt there was a huge philosophical part of me that just couldn't quite not question scripture. And that served its purpose. But when things really um, started to really illuminate in my life, and I don't want to say things went sideways with the plants, but that happens. And um, a big part of my journey with the plants was sensing this lack of safety through masculine domination that started to come through, even in the realms of the plants. And that was there as one of my biggest teachers, um, for me to really honor my femininity. But in that, to really be able to go into a space where I could truly trust the masculine again, I did have to reconnect with the Heavenly Father. Um, and that was a really beautiful process. And it felt like a really big pivotal moment to navigate where I was like, oh, am I meant to drop the plants and go back into my Christian faith? Because Christian faith is quite strong in its ways. It's like, you're Christian, this is what you believe, nothing else. This is it. um, and so that shook me up a little bit. And the way that I navigated it was with a lot of the teachings from the plants, like gentleness, to like not take things so seriously. Um, I feel like the plants really teach us that. So then it reinforced all the things the plants taught me, and to kind of have that lens towards Christianity. But then what the gift was in things going sideways and Christianity coming at me full forces was I got to integrate the two and realize there is totally a space um, for the cross in this work. And it actually is the fundamental point of this work.
Yes.
And the whole reason we're, and this is why I find it so ironic. And I love irony when things like this happen, because, yeah, the whole point of me walking with the plants was that so I could re accept life again and walk anew and be reborn and walk even stronger in my faith. And the plants really did that for me, like in all fully. They fully um, helped me reclaim myself, full reclamation, brought me fully there, which I was baptized Christian, but I don't think I had that same level of um, integrity of, wow, what I do and my actions and where I put my energy, my thoughts, my everything matters. Um, and that I wasn't fully receiving the teachings just through my pastor or through the Bible, but I literally had to directly experience the way the universe works.
Yes. I resonate so deeply with everything that you're sharing, especially the last part. I feel like that's so important for people because religion, yeah, it can be a bit dogmatic. And it is so different when we can directly experience something and live it, an embodiment. And yeah, it's so, so powerful. And I resonate so deeply with what you're sharing. I also feel that the plants have brought me more deeply back to Christ because I grew up Christian. My grandfather was a pastor, or a minister, and luckily, he wasn't like super dogmatic. Like his concept was always like God is love and love is God and it's all love and it's all God. And that's essentially also what the plants teach. So that worked for me. Um,
Mm.
but it's been really beautiful with my journey with tobacco, who I really perceive this plant as like the divine masculine of the plant realm. And I really feel that this plant opened up a deeper connection or a reconnection with Christ in my life. And it's been so supportive. It's just such a pure energy. And like you said, like this path with the plants purifies us and it returns us to our natural state of being, our purity, like the pure love in our hearts, just like Christ does. So yeah, it's so beautiful. And I feel that the teachings of the plants are so similar to the teachings of Christ. What you're saying of like, I had to learn to walk with like more integrity and where are my thoughts going? What are my actions like? Where am I putting my energy? And they can really help us ground those concepts and practices in our life. So it's one thing to like
Mm.
read it, try to incorporate it, but to really like yeah, have the plants, the spirit of the plants, like really walking with us and like keeping us in line, testing us, tricking us. It's a whole other ball game, whole other level of
True.
embodiment.
Yeah. Truly, they're there to teach us and guide us into that. And in some ways, that's the point. So that's just so beautiful.
Hmm.
Um, that you resonate, and I just find it the little bit of irony how your father is a heart surgeon and your grandfather was a pastor. now you're like getting initiated into, just so much beauty. And
Hmm.
yeah,
Thank
that's really.
you. Oh, thank you, love. Yeah, it was really special because when my grandfather passed, I actually inherited his tobacco pipes. He used to sit and smoke tobacco up in his study and like contemplate God and the universe and all the things. And I'm like, wow, now that's what I do. My first experience with tobacco was with him, actually. All of me and the rest of my cousins would all like go smoke a cigar with him during like family parties. It was like our little ritual. It was really cute. So, grandfather medicine carrying the grandfather medicine.
It's so cool to see how we choose like the certain souls in our family and what they have helped in our carving of our path. Um,
Mm,
like with your grandfather and you sounds really beautiful.
absolutely. Thank you. And I'm curious because this is also a conversation I've been having with my family lately, and I think this is a conversation that's good to have for other people listening who are maybe also seeing through the culture and the ways of society, like you said you did, and kind of started on a non-traditional path. So maybe for people listening, feeling inspired to dive into this work or, divert onto a more non-traditional path. What has that been like for you? What have the challenges been? What have the beautiful gifts been? And what has that been like for your family? Like, do they understand? What's your experience been with that?
That's a really beautiful question. Wow. Um, so it definitely, because my path has felt personally really deep, um, I did separate from my family at a young age. Um, and I'd only come back to visit once a year. And that's quite a unique experience. And it comes with a lot of hardship. Our family gives us so much a sense of belonging, safety. Yet, in order for me to go and do the level of self inquiry work that I wanted to do, it required a lot of distance. And this won't be the case for everyone, but I do believe it's really important to do this work and then be able to come back to your family to see how you've grown. And even if they may not understand you, that the impact that you can have in their life, even from afar, doing this work wherever you are, whether you're close with your family in the same town, in the same house, to being in another place in the world, you're still connected. There's soul bonds. And I've seen my family really get healthier because of my influence. I came once back to my family while I was on a dieta. And I was dieting for 2 months, which is, I don't really recommend this in Canada without salt. But I was like, got this really strong calling to go see my family. And they saw what I was doing and they were just kind of amazed. I told them, I'm like, yeah, I haven't had salt or sugar or any of these things. Yeah, so I think I've been an inspiration to them in some ways, and it has had hardship where it's felt like bonds have broken and come back together and broken again, and then taking conscious choice to repair. Because our roots that we have with our family are extremely important. And however that work plays out will just be so different for each individual. I really had dense energies to clear, like of mental health, addiction, abuse, things like that. So that distance actually was supportive, but really it wasn't until I could fully be myself with my family that I really started to like fully embody who I am, what I stand for, why I'm here, what it is that I'm doing. And they may not understand it, but luckily my family does accept me for who I am, and they don't judge. So I am blessed with that.
What a relief that they accept you. That's so beautiful. Yeah, and I love
Mhm.
what you're sharing because it's so true. I think space can be really necessary from our family when we are, like you said, on the self-inquiry journey or this spiritual path, because oftentimes, we have developed a role or a character within our family, or we're stuck kind of in a box of their projections of who they think we are. And I think taking that space allows us to really discover who am I actually and like what am I actually here to do outside of this limited perspective or character or role that I've been playing within my family dynamic. And I also think this work is so powerful for our families when we're doing this because it is so ancestral. I mean, we're clearing so much stuff that has been passed on to us for generations. And it's so deep. And it not only liberates us, but also those who have walked before us and after us. And I remember I had one of my first ayahuasca ceremonies ever. I had this massive womb clearing. Like, actually, after this experience, I considered myself a virgin again because I felt like I received like a whole new womb, like all imprints, any sexual partners I had, all my memories just like totally removed. And it was so powerful. But it not only went through my womb, but also like my mom's, my grandmother, my great grand, like 7 generations back. I remember it was such a long process. Like I was just purging for so long. And then the next day, my mom called me crying and she was like, "What happened last night?" And she felt it. And so I really feel that, yeah, the work that we do with the plants and just in general, it ripples out in so many more ways that we could even ever understand. And of course, you're saying like, yeah, like being that lighthouse and that example for them, that inspiration. And then also there's these really subtle things shifting too that maybe they're not even fully aware of.
Totally. Oh, that's such a powerful story. I love it. I really, really love it. Hmm. I feel that womb connection to my mother and my sister, and it's such a tender place. Um, so I'm really happy that you've had the opportunity to go in there and receive a certain level of support and doctoring and just really um yeah, really powerful, super super powerful, because yeah, the ripple of that and the subtlety of where that can bring healing into not only the world but your ancestral line. This work is, like you said, it's just so deep. That's why actually had to take a break from it for a little while. How
Integration time
deep?
is also necessary.
Yeah. So that's beautiful to hear. As our
Mm.
families fully receive, they receive from this work, and um, being open with them, um, knowing that they might not be able to hold you through it. Actually, no, they for sure can't
Mhm.
hold you through
Yeah.
it.
I think only if you've walked this path can you really hold someone through it.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so it does take strength and resilience to have compassion for them. And yeah,
This is where
yeah,
the teachings of the Bobinsana come in. The compassion, the forgiveness, the love, the healthy boundaries.
definitely,
Hmm.
definitely.
Keena, is there anything else that you're feeling called to share? Do you want to share about any upcoming offerings that you have, ways people can connect with you? Of course, I'll like put your all of your links and everything in the show notes so people can find them there. But if you have anything coming up that you want to share, you're welcome to.
Hmm. Yeah. So recently, I've been more and more devoted to helping people integrate their experiences with these deep processes. Um, and that has been a really beautiful uh, thing to do because I know how deep this work is and how much having some support would have helped me during those early years. Um, so, yeah, uh, that is something that people can always reach out to me for is integration sessions, or integration through a remote diet with Bobinsana and Rose. Um, and that just being a more gentle, subtle process where you can start to go into the discovery process. And
So beautiful, love. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here today and such beautiful information shared. And I just have to say, for anybody listening and like feeling like, oh, you're interested in Bobinsana or Rose, like I feel like just to listen to this conversation, like Keena is such a clear embodiment of these frequencies. So you're like already getting the transmission of these plants just through listening. So if you want to connect more deeply, definitely reach out to her.
thank you so much, Dani.
Yes, thank you, love. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Embracing the Mystery, and I hope you enjoyed. To stay connected, you can follow me on Instagram at Dani Rhem, or follow and like my Facebook business page, Dani Rhem Embracing the Mystery, where I share weekly live channelings, guided meditations, and content to help empower you to live an authentic and embodied soul-led life. You can also find the links to this information in the bio of this episode. Thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoyed.